higher power. Not just your lover, give you what you need. A higher power, what we're all about. Whatever hour, where it really counts. Not just your lover, give you what you need. No matter situation, baby, rely on me. Oh, when I met you, I just knew that you would take my heart.
What's a motivator for anybody who's gotten to a point where all accolades are a basic object? Now what is opulence to someone who has found a hidden truth about our history and is dying to express upon it? Langa'S not familiar times, longer than newspaper to hang giants with thickest of skins. Pardon the use of the pen, spoke to my elders and it's never been clearer what objective is for the group in the den. Lions gather in circles, you hear the roars. Dogs bark from the distance, we ain't involved. Now if you stand in my presence, you'll see it all. Ntsizwa Ka Mthuimkhulu, product of street. I was more beast, that's why coming in they could've sworn he more teeth. Grew up Saudi Western but they thought he more East. Knew about the legend if contested for keeps. See.
And this is about as far as I can see you painting pictures in 08. Yeah, seeing these plain dreams and vivid visions peeking out from a cold plate.
Masikanondini sikwaba nampendana singazingange koma sikayenga amazwi kwabo amakhosi akhulisa inkosi yami songinda Ntsizwa Ka athi manje Ntsizwa Ka Msana lapha impande idaba khona yona ngamgomezulu kaSuthu uyiso wempande ngazini umthetho kaNyombosi mina ngaphansi ngilana nomfazi wami Bineo naledi Langa Mama kids. Yo.
Hey everybody.
We're back. I think we start by giving love to everybody who watched
Thank you, guys.
first episode.
I actually really appreciate that.
That was really dope. I think in a week we hit 20,000 subscribers, which I mean we don't know what happens on these channels, so
really
for us
don't.
it's pretty dope.
Newbies,
I don't know
guys.
what the numbers are.
Yeah.
Yeah, over 100,000 views and 20,000 subscribers.
We so appreciate
in a week, so thank you for that. I guess that will bring us into our second ep.
Yeah.
We want to go a little. We want to kind of dive deep into kind of what makes the Langa'S.
Yeah.
So bear with us. If it feels a little heavy, we'll do our best to kind of lighten it up as much as best we can.
I mean, yeah, we'll try.
We can't speak for anybody else,
Yeah.
but what we want to kind of get into is the concept and theme of spirituality.
Yeah.
What that kind of means to us, for us, as a married couple as well. You wanna
Jump in over here?
Jump in, I think, yeah.
I think we always understood each other as a couple, like from day one. Our conversation was so easy and effervescent, and it allowed us to know for a fact. I think we figured this out first date.
Mm-hmm.
First date that from a mental perspective, we really, really gel. It wasn't out the gate that we knew we were this spiritual couple that we are today. Those things came with time, but at the same time, the kind of level that we were relating on allowed us to understand that we are open to those doors being open in terms of being a couple, if I'm making sense.
Yeah, so I think there was a lot of, it's a very gray area, right?
Yeah.
Just the concept of spirituality. Nakona,
It's massive.
even using the term spirituality, which obviously encompasses Ungoma, obviously we're trained healers,
Yeah.
but I guess it's such a wide spectrum that it kind of, it bleeds into many things at once. So I think at the beginning, so 8 years ago, I think it was more the concept of spirituality, being spiritual people, that I think evolved into and directed itself into Ubungoma specifically.
Because in any relationship, it's not a given that the two of you pray, speak to one or other entity, So it was those things came with layers for us. We discovered it with time. And I'll be honest and say that's one of the things I appreciated about you when I first met you, how rooted you are. Oh, come on! How rooted you were, and for me, it gave an understanding that you're layered and you're grounded, and I think that's what I needed at the time as well, in a partner.
Oh, same here. Like without a doubt, I needed that. But look, just if we're gonna break this down a bit, right? If we go into, I guess, the beginning of it, right? So actually taking the core, the reasons for it, and I guess at the beginning of it all, possibly the hardest thing I've ever had to do, right? And I'm talking about the decision, because I think we all learn very differently about our gifts, and but obviously the daunting bit is the uncertainty, the unknown, if you will, because you learn which you're supposed to take on this calling.
And how did you learn?
And then you ask for information and no one can tell you what it really means, so
everyone I ride with, they ride for me. If ever I was blinded, they sacrificed their eyes so that I could see. Now tell me that they don't deserve the world. Somebody gotta get it for 'em. And if that someone is me, woe was me.
So I mean, I first found out, I was a kid when I found out. I was very young. I don't know, like Miss Deep at the time, that puts it at a good like 20 plus years ago. But I was a kid, and the whole family pretty much had a consult, and and I was kind of pointed out to the young one. He definitely has a gift. I mean, it meant nothing to me. I was a kid, but I didn't even understand the concept of what that meant. I think mom was probably a little concerned to hear that, but again, there was no. It's not like there was any kind of pressure put on me at the time. But as a statement, it probably sat in my head almost like a seed. Kind of followed me as I developed in life. But it was probably maybe a good 8 to 10 years ago where it started to significantly mean something. I got curious enough about it. Obviously things kind of happening in my life, which weren't necessarily scary or jarring or anything. You hear stories of how people find out, and that can be pretty heavy. But
people
for me,
get sick and things like that.
But for me, it wasn't necessarily that. I think it was just obviously things like dreaming, and the curiosity kind of following me around. I then had family that was, then initiated, and that gave me at least a better understanding. I had family that I could ask, I could ask questions now, get some level of clarity. Then I had a consult in my own capacity in my adult life, which kind of was the beginning of all of that. Very, very separate to, and we had started dating at the time.
Yeah, we had.
But I think we kind of looked into this in our individual capacities.
No one dragged the other to the other's consultation, and
No.
it even when I found out, I wanted my own space, and I love the fact that we respected that as individuals. When I went, things were amiss, and it's almost like you can feel it innately, which is something's like, it's not balanced. You're not balanced within yourself. You're not aligned within yourself. And for me, I had gone to check something totally separate. And while that was addressed, then came this very, very heavy block of, hey, you're gifted. Fundly trust. And my mind went spinning. Because I was just like, what do you mean? Couldn't be. This is I don't know if this is a thing for me. And it took such a long time for me to accept it. because there's you finding out, and then there's you accepting to go on the journey.
Should you choose to.
Exactly. And now for me, I got different pressure points. I got the dreaming, and it starts to feel like you're a little bit crazy. Like I'll say, for me, in my experience, I started to feel like I was a bit crazy, and I was grateful to have you by my side, because I'd say to you, baby, ginuka into so, and I'd be like, can you smell it? And you'd be like, no. And that started to give me signs of, oh no, baby girl, you are in the thick of this thing.
Sure.
Nighttime when we drive, like, had I not had you by my side, I think I would have thought giyahlanya for sure.
Look, I think that generally is the story for so many people, initially. Obviously, things like, conditioning, how we're initiated just at the beginning of things. I went to a Catholic school my whole life, right? So I know that Bible from front to end. And, but obviously there are things that still would kind of, outside of the capacity of this, still be points of curiosity for me. In my blackness, in my Africanness, there were things that just, there were still dots that needed to be connected. And I think I'm actually quite grateful that my curiosity had a bigger appetite than my fear of all of this. Because that probably was my saving grace. But again, it was tough nonetheless. It's a lot of in fact, it's a lot of unlearning first to then learn. There's a common principle in ubungoma is the whole idea of being grounded, right? To be grounded first, to then build on that, and to really have to focus on oneself, really learn who you are, kind of unravel before you can be built up, is probably what is the hardest thing of all of it.
Because you hold on to your ideals, you hold on so tightly to them, because it's a definer for you. And for everybody who doesn't know, we went through the process together. So we went in as we are together, at least. But knowing our sort of precursors as things that identify us as individuals. And when we started to lose those things, I was grateful that we were there to catch each other. But even in catching each other, to see it and allow the evolution of the individual. It's not an easy space to be in. You literally walk in and because people know you're a couple, they tell you to put your couple aside. No hugging, no kissing, no intimacy at all. And that was so hard. It was so hard for us, because I think you guys have seen every now and again, I'm affectionate with him. I'm extremely affectionate. So that's part of the unraveling that's part of what brings out the unraveling, because I'm so used to, you're my safe place. I can come to you and just get a hug, and if everything is all right in my world. And I can't do that. I just have to sit next to you and be okay that our energies are still in alignment insofar as being in a relationship.
Look, I still think, I still admit to it being like the greatest of blessings that like we were afforded that,
100%,
people aren't. Well, not often, it definitely happens, because spirit attracts spirit. So it's not a foreign concept, people do get initiated, but I think just the understanding the blessing of having somebody, firstly, who understands, these are, truth be told, these are deal breakers.
They are
in certain relationships, and understandably so. I think if there was one thing that I could possibly, when I look back now, for everything that I have learned, I understand that there's so much that we just don't understand as Black people. If I'm just looking at the majority, not enough people grasp the importance of all of this, and I think, and that's why there's such a fear component. The truth is, the stuff was I want to say vilified, but that's not even correct. Like, it was demonized, and that's what the unfortunate bit is, you know, because it's so untrue. You know, having our way of spirituality as Black people can't be. You can't tell me that that's evil by virtue of it belonging to us. You know, and that's probably the biggest heartbreak for me. And what I understand the importance of kind of being, you know, speaking about it correctly, respecting it, understanding it, you know. I respect anybody who is, you know, who does not necessarily believe in this. I'm absolutely fine with that, you know. My only request is that if you don't believe it, respect it, you know.
Yes.
You don't have to understand it, but you do need to accept and respect it,
Yeah.
you know. It can't be that it's only the Black that is, you know, that can be diminished. You know, that for me is something that definitely needs to be corrected. And it really is just an awareness situation. And remember, the more the more things are kept in the dark, the more things can be manipulated, you know. If it's in the light and everybody can speak of it normally, if it can all be normalized, it means, you know, it's easier for people to just communicate and ask questions, and also get the truth when they ask questions, you know. You can't manipulate something in the light.
I'm grateful that we live in a time, though, where people are stepping up with pride
For
about their
sure.
journeys on different platforms, in different spaces. We see a lot more in media, where if you investigate the history of how, you know, Imsamo were burned, Ndumbas were burned, people were violated back in the day, way back in the day, for really practicing African spirituality. So to our ancestors who look at us now, we're living the dream.
Yeah.
And for me, it's so encouraging to see that there's a community and it grows. And this thing, whether or not you want to believe in it, it lives in the greatest light.
Yeah.
You know, I think we are Black love rooted in Black spirituality. And for me, when people say, "Oh my God, you guys are so lucky," I think it's through the guidance of our ancestors. It's through the guide of our praying and prophetic ancestors and angels and guides and God. All of that for us is one. There are no separations or divisions when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So, you know, if this is how our home was built,
For sure.
how we became a family is literally through that vehicle.
Yeah. And also just kind of doing our best to navigate correctly, you know, not shortchanging any of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is a tough journey, but
Yeah.
a necessary one, and one that needs to be respected in all the steps. So, like, again, when it came to umshado wethu, it was pretty much the same thing, where before I could you know, actually give you an engagement ring, before I could even lobola, we had to first sikhunge, you know, and that's the thing. Like, that's why I feel like we got married for like for such a long time. It's so it's so ridiculous.
But it
to
was
me.
enjoyable.
It,
I don't want to
it was.
lie. It was
I'm right
enjoyable.
there with you. I'm not, you know. But my point is, even with that, you know, it was
Yeah.
not missing a beat, you know, making sure with ancestrally there's that connection and doing that right first.
Because abangini fanele bavume kuqala.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, you know.
Yeah.
And just do you want to explain Ukunga for people who might not understand it?
Ukunga Madlozi is a ceremony in which you as a couple are bringing your ancestors together and making them understand that you choose to now navigate the journey of life as one.
Yeah, because because we're gifted.
Yes.
As individuals. Yeah.
You especially as gifted individuals, you can't just go, okay, let's get married in the physical realm. You have to respect the spirit realm as well, and say, do we have your blessing and permission to go forth as a couple And do all ancestors that we carry as individuals agree to this union?
Yeah.
So that is what happened for us first.
Yeah.
When this guy had decided that he wants to be my life partner. So that's how that happened first, and then every other thing that you saw on Gwagutlegwetu is
Happened after the
all
fact.
of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so everything you understand just in terms of a normal wedding,
Yeah.
traditionally, and plus the whites, that's everything you saw on Gwagutlegwetu. Everything a year before that, literally a year before,
a
because
year
we
before that?
2018 May.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and then we got married 2019 May. It was pretty much, yeah.
May is our month, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So a lot of that, those were the different things. Also, that's where Ukungwa is also where I have to acknowledge your ancestors. You do the same with mine,
Yeah.
right? So unlike Uglobola, where obviously I have to pay money to her family, Ukungwa is both ways. There's a reciprocity there. But yeah, that for us was our whole thing. And again, that's just one aspect of things where we were not gonna shortchange that. We're not gonna build a foundation on
shaky ground.
on Ambur.
This is being brought to the forefront. Own your roots, understand your roots, walk in this life utilizing your spiritual guidance, because it is a guidance.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful protection where they look over your life and they go, wait, Mtanami, there it's not for you, go in this direction. Or, and in our case, the two houses, because we sort of found out early that the two houses had already agreed. We just needed to follow formalities.
Sure.
And yes, you still have your free will. Please do not forget, you still have your free will. But it's such a beautiful thing that you can be guided. And I always tell him that before I met him, I had the strongest, and I didn't know that Mzoba Isangoma, I had the strongest inclination that the next guy I'm gonna date is the last guy I will ever date, and I won't date again. It's just something I knew, and lo and behold, here we are.
Yeah.
It's a blessing in so many ways, and we're only going to talk on this faction of things, but research for yourself.
Definitely.
Do your best to be inquisitive about your roots, be inquisitive about Black spirituality, be inquisitive about your clan.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, all of this on the surface is just, it's the tip of the iceberg. And you go deeper than that. I think I remember seeing a tweet that said, how differently would you navigate life if you knew that you came into it squat deep?
Incredible. Incredible. And you know what? And that really kind of speaks to the unlearning that I'm kind of speaking to, which is why I'm saying, Wuti, even from a commenting aspect, maybe this one will be the one that is engaged. It can't be everybody. Let's you know what I mean? Let's be real. But also, let's approach it from a respectable nature. That's all I ask. Let's be pro us. That's it can't be a bad thing to be pro us. So I think
that's us.
That's it.
But before we go, a lot of people were curious as to why we chose Gwagutlegwetu to sort of reveal that about ourselves. And we're so grateful for the positive response. I mean, we were just like, this is how we'd like to do it.
Yeah.
We had known as public figures that it'll come out at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, again, sometimes it really is just about, how you're really able to engage people, right? How you put the messaging out. That's obviously a very important thing. And, a lot of the time, again, Ubungomas, Black spirituality is often put in this very dark space.
And shunned.
Yeah, and never really in the in the vein of love, right? And lo and behold, there's this love story that we're telling that really starts off the way that it does, in love, right? In solidifying it this way. And these are the processes of love when it comes to this. And I think that was just very important, you know, in the same way that, you know, a Christian can definitely understand that even in harsh times, you know, they can look to Jesus and understand that Jesus loves them. You know, it's that kind of a thing where just understanding that there's so much love embedded in all of this, as opposed to the misconception that it is purely, you know, for darkness. It's something that's engaged only in dark times and bad times, and that's just not the case. It's family, you know, and if you understand that concept, I think it's easier to grasp how it all works. So that's why it became important, you know, put it out, you know, in form, but from a space of love. That was the point.
And to put it out with pride.
Absolutely.
To show that we're not ashamed.
Yeah.
We're not ashamed. This is not something we did in secret. We approached it gung-ho, even when we went in to say, if you see us, you see us at a river. If you see us in the space, you see us in the space.
Yeah.
But the truth of it is, if we are going this route, we will be proud of it. And we had that understanding together. Yeah, but, you know, outside of everything else, this is us. This is one of the foundations, rather the bigger foundation when it comes to the language.
Once again, guys, thank you for subscribing. Thanks for
Thank you
checking
so
out the
much.
first ep. I'm losing lights. I'm calling it now, man.
And please subscribe. Please. I know. Please.
They are.
Destiny, someone chosen just for me. All that I need, that's within me.